Let's begin. We are back. It is a six-pack challenge episode 0011, or for the normal folk, that would be 11.
Episode 11.
Episode 11. Here we are. Again, you can find us on all social media. Search Six-Pack Challenge at Six-Pack Cast is where we're on Twitter. We're very active there and whatnot. And I just want to throw this out there. During Raw and SmackDown Live, a lot of the times we are kind of popping in and out and live tweeting. When we got the conversation started there, we run some polls sometimes and everything. So if you're watching along, just chat along with us.
You've developed a very interesting poll system where you've basically taken human beings and turned them into rankings.
They are now rankings, yes. So yeah, at the end of the show, what we do pretty much is like, hey, rate Raw for us. But instead of like a 1 to 4, we're just like, okay, well, if it's like at the top, we're going to say it's like, that was like a Macho Man level show.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, and then like you get to the bottom, it's like, that was like a Paul Burchill like level show or something. I don't know why he just popped in my head, but
yeah. Now I take a little bit of offense to that because Pirate Paul was great. So like, what happens if like Pirate Paul's one of my favorite?
See, I just
then
feel
where does the scale rank?
You got to go with like championships and overall. You got to look at the big picture because of course we all have that like terrible character.
How many buried treasures did the Macho Man find? That's probably not something we should talk about.
See, if we were measuring it on buried treasures, I don't know. Do you call Stephanie McMahon a treasure? Let's get away from this. Anyways, you can follow along there, vote along as you're watching the show, and then you can find us on like Instagram and whatnot too. Kind of getting everything going here, getting everything rolling. And let's get into it this week. If you've never heard the six-pack challenge, what we do is grab a six-pack of beer, bust open a beer of topic on the world of wrestling that week. Keith and I just kind of discuss, and then we want to hear your feedback afterwards and whatnot, because that's what it's all about. Just a couple wrestling fans, six-pack of beer, and we'll chat about what is going on this week. So shall we get into it?
Let's do it.
You know, I hate starting with this, but
this is more like pouring a beer out than opening a beer and drinking it, really.
Yeah, one for my homies here, because it was a pretty dark day. It was all in one day,
yeah,
I was
rough
say.
Sunday in wrestling this week.
Not even like spread over a week or anything, but we had some wrestling deaths here this week, starting with... There's no good place to start here.
No,
we'll start
really
with
not.
Nikolai Volkov here, passing away at the age of 70. Former tag team champion with the Iron Sheik, WWE Hall of Famer, had those feuds, of course, with Hulk Hogan. You know, you remember him singing the national anthem in the ring and whatnot. I'd say like a little bit before my time watching wrestling, but like still one of those characters that sticks out and you're like, oh, of course I know who
Agreed.
that is. So.
Like whenever somebody passes, as unfortunate as it is, there's always like a little peak in interest where all of the stuff that they did kind of resurfaces.
Mm-hmm.
And like low-key, Nikolai Volkov is probably one of the best superstars of the 80s in the way that like he didn't have this like flashy, great main event match career, but the gimmick that he had, like it was just so good. Like he was such a good foil, and especially with the Iron Sheik and stuff.
Well, the foreign heel, I mean, that was huge in the 80s, right? And he was one of the best at it, so... 70 years old, passing away. WWE did show a nice little package at the beginning of Raw, which I always wonder how they kind of pick, like, what level of superstar just gets the, like the flash at the beginning saying, like, in memory of, with the dates, and then who actually gets, like, a full-on package here.
I think it's just a question of, is the bridge burned? Yes. No package.
This is true, yeah, that. Or, I mean, if they're in the Hall of Fame, I'm pretty sure they're going to get a package here. So.
Probably.
All right, moving on to our the second wrestling death here. Brickhouse Brown. I'm going to be honest, I didn't know a lot about Brickhouse Brown.
No, neither did I. My understanding is that he was a big wrestler in the NWA circuit in the 80s. That's kind of where he got his big break.
Yeah.
But once again, little before my time.
AWA, I think, spent some time. I read he had some feuds with Jerry the King Lawler at some point in one of the promotions too, and Terry Funk too. So... And it's always kind of sad. I mean, 57 years old. For a while there, all the wrestling deaths, it was kind of like drug overdose, this, that. I mean, he passed away from cancer, and it's, he just lived a nice life up to that point, and unfortunately, he's been battling cancer and succumbed to that. So, Brickhouse Brown, the second on that Black Sunday there, and then, of course, if you heard the news, the youngest of the group, 46 years old. Grandmaster Sexay.
This one is crazy.
Right?
It's, alleged suicide, which is
Yeah, some troubles.
Crazy.
In his own jail cell. I
Yeah.
don't want to get too...
My understanding of the story is that he was arrested for, like, had a warrant out for him, evading arrest, and hung himself in his own jail cell, which is... Whew, that's a rough one for anyone.
Just one of the most entertaining tag teams ever. They really were. He'd get up top, put the goggles on, do the leg drop there.
They had Scotty 2 Hotty with the worm, then they'd go out and dance. They really were a staple of the Attitude Era.
And really, I think important to another Hall of Famer's career, Rikishi. I mean, Rikishi kind of bounced around with all these different gimmicks before that, but that's really where he set his feet in there.
Absolutely.
And started teaming with Too Cool, and just a lot of good memories from those, like WrestleMania, I don't know, probably 16 through 18, somewhere in there. They were really hot. So, unfortunately, and, the son of Jerry the King Lawler, too.
Yeah.
So
those are big shoes to fill.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, who knows, the pressure got to him. From all I've heard, great human being. I mean, not everyone's going to shit on someone after they die, but I have heard from just a variety of people, just seeing through Twitter and whatnot. People posting.
Like anyone, you kind of hear good stories, you kind of hear bad stories, but
seems like he had his own troubles, obviously, and demons, but overall a good entertaining WWE superstar of the past. So those three again on Sunday, unfortunately, passing away.
It's kind of hard to transition from that, but I guess we should talk about some wrestling.
Yeah, let's do that.
So we finally, the stars aligned. There must have been a full moon, a blood moon or something, and we had a Universal Champion sighting on Monday Night Raw this week.
The big giant motherfucker who showed up and sat on the couch and read backstage, which I love, by the way, the memes that have come out of this.
Oh, that's so great, like the photoshopping the magazine that he was
exactly.
reading.
There's one of him reading the Playboy edition of Sable, like the Sable Playboy edition, his wife. So that was the best thing to come out of that. But I got to give it to Brock after seeing this segment here. Sitting backstage with Paul Heyman trying to convince him that he needs to come out to the ring because Angle basically saying, hey, you're going to get fired if Lesnar doesn't show up in the ring at least. But the promo he cut on Paul after that, it was probably the most he's spoken in about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, even this whole episode of Raw, like when he was in the ring and stuff, that's you just don't hear that out of Brock anymore. I think the last time he did something like that, he ended up saying like, Paul, say something stupid.
That was about it. See, I don't know if it's just because we haven't heard him in a long time or what, or maybe the rest of the promos in WWE are terrible today. I don't know, but I was kind of looking at it I remember thinking Lesnar was so shitty on the mic, he needed Paul Heyman, and then you listen to him and you're like, I don't know, sounded badass to me. I kind of liked it.
We're going to have to agree to disagree there.
Really?
I just can't get past Brock Lesnar's voice. It's tough.
His voice? What do you mean?
In the way that you expect something a lot deeper, I guess, or something more... For the amount of testosterone in that man, there should be more testosterone in that voice.
Well, you tell him that, okay?
I will.
You tell him that to his face.
And you'll be looking for a new co-host.
Well, aside from the voice, I don't know. I thought he was in Paul's face and just kind of the intensity that he has because he's legit. So I thought he did well in the promo here backstage and then a little bit in the ring. And then, of course, that led to him, I love the stare down between him and Angle because it was
that
just
was good.
Flashbacks
I just
of WrestleMania 19.
WrestleMania 19 come back to my mind.
It was the best.
So good.
I wanted to see Brock do a shooting star again or attempt to.
Lee.
And then F5's Kurt Angle just out of nowhere, basically intimidates Constable Corbin as he leaves and goes to the outside and looks like a little bitch. And then gets right in the face of Paul Heyman, which was interesting too. But the craziest thing to happen in this segment, I know you know where I'm going with this, I heard the crowd chanting something, and it was very unfamiliar to me, and I was like, wait, what are they saying?
Has anybody checked on Vince lately? How's he doing? How's his heart?
Because, you have your typical chants, this is awesome, all the chants that just kind of are ingrained in our minds, so you know what it is instantly. This one, I was like, wait, what are they saying? Wait, hold on.
At first, I thought it was, we want Strowman. But no.
We want Roman. This actually occurred on WWE Raw this week.
Basically, they made the worst Universal Champion ever and just hammed it up so badly to the point where people understand it's the last hope, so fuck it, let's chant for Roman. And they did it. They did it.
We want Roman over. He still had the sub chant of "No, we don't," which I thought was funny too.
Fuck it,
but
take
it
what
doesn't
you
matter.
can get.
There was enough. It was vocalized by enough people in that crowd.
It was the dominant chant.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Over top of it, there was a legit "We want Roman" chant. I don't know. I mean, because we're seeing this breakup between Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar, or at least, some cracks in the armor here and everything. I kind of like that they've done this now because I think this was the only hope. Okay, everyone loves Paul Heyman. Everyone loves to listen to Paul Heyman and everything. As annoying as he is, everyone loves him.
Absolutely.
Pull him away from Brock now. Now all you have is Brock Lesnar, who doesn't give a fuck and just never shows up. Everyone hates him. Like you said, last resort. Let's go to Roman Reigns.
Mm-hmm. And you have a story reason for Brock to be vulnerable again. Well, now he doesn't have his advocate, so he'll make mistakes, he'll do things like that, and they've just done such a good job with making Brock just this shitty champion. It's so good. Even the way that they were saying, like, yeah, Brock Lesnar is the worst Universal Champion ever. Like,
Kurt Angle said that, yeah.
And then from what you hear about Brock, like, it's hammed up. You know that he's actually not like this bad. At least you like to hope so. But you're not 100% sure. They're doing this so well that in a way that I'm almost more invested because I feel the need to be less invested in this whole title storyline. They've done a really good job with this.
Because I think they've taken that little bit of realism where, yes, we know that Brock Lesnar has signed a cushy deal where he shows up kind of whenever he wants. So let's play on that. Let's play that up. I mean, they tried it before with Roman just saying, oh, you never show up, but that wasn't enough. Now they've gone even further and taken Paul Heyman, kind of separating that. So the only thing is now when Roman wins the title at SummerSlam, then everyone's just not going to give a fuck about him right instantly again. I don't think. Like I'm not believing that this has got Roman over, that Roman's the hero and everyone's going to love it.
So to almost counteract that, do you see something where Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns kind of team up to take out Brock?
I think this is where they're going with this.
So does that counteract the boo Roman stuff now that it's Roman and Paul Heyman? Heyman's almost like the counterweight.
Now that he's a Paul Heyman guy? I don't know. I mean, hopefully it goes one way or the other, or else we don't want it to balance out and then just nothing happens with them either. So we'll see. We're on the fast track to SummerSlam here now, and Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman, without, we don't really know.
It's a long way to go. Though, quick side note, I'm disappointed that they just kind of threw Bob to the side on this one.
Yeah.
Because now I guess he's going to face Elias, or he's feuding with Elias now?
It seems that way. So,
Bummer.
Which is still, a good level feud for him, but I think they just got him up there for a quick pay-per-view just to get here, basically. So. Speaking of breakups, it looks like there's one brewing on SmackDown Live right now, too, where we have the breakup of Rusev Day. It's kind of been teasing it over the past couple of weeks here.
It only gets worse and worse. Rusev is kind of in this slump right now. And
I know, which I hate. Because
I meant from a character standpoint, but yeah, totally. Well, in actual, in the show as well.
Like storyline-wise, I mean, they boost him up and they get him up there with AJ. Wrestling at Extreme Rules there, and then right after, it's like it didn't even exist. Bye-bye, see ya, Rusev. We gave you a couple minutes because the crowd was chanting for you, and then now nothing. Of course, Aiden English seems to be the one that's, he's unfortunately screwing people over, but, is he really? Is he just going to do a heel turn? Or where does this go? This is my thing. I don't know where this goes now. I feel they haven't milked the whole trio of Rusev Day enough. Like, I don't want this to happen yet because I feel like there's so much left on the table.
Same here. We're not at a point where we're sick of Rusev Day yet, so it feels bad that they're breaking up. But even the way that they're pinning Aiden English, he didn't seem like the bad guy on SmackDown, so that makes it curious. Like, the way that Lana sold the whole being distracted was kind of terrible.
Yeah.
So,
well, she is kind of... Can we just mention that she's not even Russian anymore at all?
No.
Like, what? Like, when was that decision made? That just
it's slowly been phasing out for the last few years.
It's just given up now. Yeah. Like, not even a hint of.
Every now and then, like, she still has that little bit of Russian when she says Rusev, but every other word is country blumpkin Lana.
Yeah, just Lana CJ or whatever her name is. Yeah, you were mentioning that you don't think we've well, we both said that we don't think we've seen enough out of Rusev Day yet. See, the comparison for me is like, if New Day were to break up now, I'd be cool with it. It's like, okay, you've done everything. It's good. Let's kind of further this story and get you guys on a different path here. But I don't think there's enough with Rusev. What I do think with Aiden English, how you mentioned he still seems to be the good guy, I think that's just building for like a heel turn. He's going to, I'm sorry. And then all of a sudden, you know what? No, I'm not sorry.
Like, in my opinion, the only good outcome from this is if they end up ditching Lana. And then it just becomes Rusev and English. Because, okay, you break them up. Mm-hmm. What does that do for Rusev? Not too much. What does it do for English? Probably even less.
No, it probably sends him to the unemployment line.
Exactly.
Because where does I don't see Aiden English doing anything.
Mm-hmm. So what's the point
after this? I almost want Aiden English to stay in a managerial role.
I agree.
I feel he's perfect for that. Because if he tries to go and do some type of singles run or anything, it's going nowhere. Let's be honest.
Agreed.
I don't think that's happening. So on the fritz right now, but who knows if I don't know if they're leading to something at SummerSlam here. Is it going to be a one-on-one between them? Is it? I don't know. Who knows?
The SummerSlam pre-show is looking pretty empty right now.
There you go. That'd be a nice fill-in for the pre-show. That's for sure.
So another great thing that happened on SmackDown, honestly, it was a very SmackDown-heavy week, in my opinion, where all the good stuff happened on the Blue brand. Lesnar aside, we had a good story development, character development in the SmackDown Women's Championship scene with Carmella, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte. Becky Lynch and Carmella came out, cut a really good promo, not what you would expect from Carmella saying, like, yeah, they don't want me here. The fans don't want me here. They think I should lose. I just am doing the best I can. Ends up being a heel turn because the second that Carmella starts being sympathetic, you know it's going to lead to something bad.
I was going to say this has happened kind of over and over. I hope she doesn't do this too much because it's just, you can see it coming a mile away. But
Charlotte returns, ends up getting put into the women's title match at SummerSlam. Now it's a triple threat. You start to see cracks with Becky Lynch because here comes Charlotte. The story they're telling, at least in my opinion, Charlotte comes in, swoops into the women's title match, may end up costing Becky, leading to some character development with Becky. Pretty cool, in my opinion, all in all.
See, I got to disagree on this one. Here's what I don't like about this. I think I know what you mean by this. You're thinking there's going to be some cracks between Becky and Charlotte,
yes,
and then they're going to lead down that path. So if that's where they're going, okay, I'm all right with that. I just feel that Charlotte, to me, is like the Roman Reigns in female version, where she has to be involved, whether she deserves it or was involved at any point before. No, they're just going to throw her in there. Like I was genuinely excited when Becky Lynch won that number one contendership for SummerSlam. I was looking forward to a Carmella versus Becky Lynch one-on-one because Becky, they haven't been doing anything with her lately, and I love Becky. She's awesome. I was looking forward to that, and then all of a sudden, no, we're going to find a way to get Charlotte in here, and now it's a triple threat, and Becky's just kind of going to be pushed to the background, in my opinion, and I just don't think it's going to do much. However, you never know the storylines coming out of it, like you mentioned.
That's exactly it. That's where I kind of disagree because, okay, you have Carmella, Becky, SummerSlam. Becky wins, great, she's the women's champion, big moment. Carmella wins, okay, then it's just regular Becky as usual, basically. But now you have opportunity to build something more with maybe like, I don't know, Becky knocks out Carmella, Charlotte swoops in, gets the win, starts something there.
See, I think they can tell the same story without Charlotte in that match, though. Becky wins the title, and then, maybe that week on SmackDown, or even that night, who knows, Charlotte comes out and is like, well, hey, congrats, Becky. Like, the only reason you won is because I wasn't here type of thing. Like, and then what?
True.
And all of a sudden, they kind of start that whole feud. I don't know. I would like to see some more one-on-one stuff with that, but who knows where it's going to go from
we'll
there.
see.
We will see. That is for sure.
We're like far enough away from SummerSlam right now where that's basically how all of these conversations end.
It really is.
A couple weeks away. Hell, who knows what they're going to do?
Well, it's true, right? Like, who knows if that'll turn into a fatal four-way or
something.
Something could change here. One that I don't see anyone being inserted into this match. This is going to be a straight one-on-one that we have been hearing about for the last couple of years, since before Daniel Bryan even was able to wrestle. The Miz versus Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam. It is officially happening. We found out on SmackDown.
Is it
Live.
official?
Was it not?
I'm like Daniel Bryan kind of
Well, he
said
challenged him.
He challenged him, but I don't think the match was made official.
Okay, well, we didn't hear from Paige. Is that why? Okay, well, in all likelihood,
all signs are pointing to Daniel Bryan versus The Miz.
Unofficially, the official match at SummerSlam is going to be Daniel Bryan versus The Miz. And I'm happy that we're finally getting this, and I'm happy it's on a big stage like SummerSlam.
Agreed.
Because I was kind of, wondering if they were going to go right to it as soon as Daniel Bryan came back. Even everything Daniel Bryan's been doing since his return, Miz has always been there. Like, he's always still kind of like poking him, right? So now we're finally getting this at SummerSlam, and I'm looking forward to it.
Real talk, this feud is probably going to have one of the best video packages I've ever seen.
Yes.
Because it's been all great promos, and leading back to the whole like Miz talking smack freak out from a few years ago. Just even this week, the Miz breaking that fourth wall like Miz does so well, saying like, Daniel, you should just let your contract expire. Just so good.
I love these kind of like half-shoot promos that they've been doing back and forth. I do love Miz. When he gets into it sometimes, you can tell it's almost like his mouth is ahead of his brain. So like he'll screw it up once in a while, but he's still just so intense when he screws up.
Yeah, he's so angry that you think it's like, oh, it's just pure rage kicking in.
And that's real, right? He's just red in the face. Think about if you've ever been super angry. You fuck up your words because you're so angry yelling. So I'm okay with it. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to this. Do you think there's going to be like kind of anything... Is this going to be a straight match? Is it going to be kind of like anything on the line, any stipulation, anything that you can kind of see in the future here?
I never honestly really thought about that, but maybe there could be room for something like loser leaves SmackDown or something like that.
Yeah, I'm wondering.
Depending on how contracts/TV shows go right now.
Yeah,
could be a good excuse for one of them to take a holiday.
And I don't think it needs it. I'm just wondering if they are going to go that route, or if, if Bree's going to get involved here somehow, like if, Maurice starts sticking her nose into things too much. Could lead to some tag matches or something too. So either way, I'm excited because, this has been building and building and building, and I love The Miz as a heel. I love Daniel Bryan as a babyface. I think this could main event it if it wanted to. It won't, but...
It definitely feels like one of the biggest matches of SummerSlam so far, if not the biggest match of SummerSlam.
And it's going to be one of those ones where I'm not so focused on the match. I'm not looking for like the perfect match. Like, I just think the story around it and the story that's going to be told and played out throughout the match,
honestly,
is going to be perfect.
In my mind, the less wrestling that happens in that match, the better. The more that the Miz runs away and then Daniel Bryan finally gets that punch in the face, it's going to be so good.
I even think, some type of dirty attack right ahead of the match and everything to take out Daniel Bryan, which, isn't nothing new, but I just feel that's the way Miz is going to go about it. So, but hey, we'll see what happens.
SummerSlam's a few weeks away.
A couple weeks here. SummerSlam coming up. All right, for our final topic here, we are going to talk about something called the Bookerman Classic, which we introduced kind of the concept last week. And the reason we're talking about this now is because next week, it's going to be a very special edition of the podcast. This is when we're actually doing the Bookerman Classic. Keith, lay it on us. Tell us what it's all about.
Yep. Mark and I are basically going to go head-to-head. We like to put on our tinfoil hats. We're going to be put to the test next week, I should say.
Next week.
And see who can book a better wrestling show. You guys out there are going to decide who books the better show. The premise of it is that first, it's basically in two parts. First, we're going to do a draft. Mark and I have come up with a pool of superstars with your suggestions. To everybody that suggested, thank you so much.
Yes.
There were some good ones in there.
Oh, it was quite a mix, I will say that. It's a melting pot of WWE superstars.
Everyone from Stone Cold Steve Austin to Kung Fu Naki is in there.
The Gobbledygooker, I believe, makes an appearance too, so it's going to be fun.
Good luck to whoever has to do something with that. So once we have our draft, we are going to take a moment. We're going to book an actual pay-per-view. It's going to consist of 6 to 8 matches. There needs to be a world champion, a mid-card champion, whether it be Intercontinental, US, whatever you want to call it, and a tag champion.
And a women's title as well.
And a women's title.
Yeah, so 4 title matches on the card. And then you have to use the other superstars, obviously, to fill in kind of the rest, the non-championship matches.
So just so you can't put matches together, what we need to do on top of it is book the stories leading into the match.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just say, I want AJ Styles versus Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Well, why are they fighting? What led to this feud? Why is it happening on this pay-per-view?
Exactly.
We need to come up with all that.
So, yeah, and then we're going to give you the card. We're going to name our own pay-per-views here. We're going to give you the whole backstory as to why this is happening. And then, yes, you are going to decide who booked the better show. Basically, you're going to play this through your whole mind and be like, okay, if I was about to watch this, which one do I want to watch?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what would I be most excited for?
If you were Dave Meltzer, whose show would you rate? Who would get more stars?
Yeah, who's getting 5 stars? Mine's taking place in the Tokyo Dome, just to let you know.
Oh, shit. Well, mine's in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Okay, of course. Corpus Christi, getting so many shout-outs on the 6-Pack Challenge here. I think maybe we'll do a special episode from there one day or something.
One day.
Bookerman Classic, it is happening next week. Again, like you said, we have all the suggestions of the superstars. Our pools have been built. Keith and I have built our own. So we each pick 10 male superstars,
yes.
5 female, and 5 tag teams. We don't know who each other picked going into this. So ahead of the draft, we only know kind of half of what's in the pool there. We're going to put them all together.
Right now, the pool is in a sealed envelope, and we don't open it until we start that show. So we have no idea who everybody or the each other picked.
We actually hired some indie workers to play security guards that are holding the sealed envelope right now.
True.
So, questions. We got the... Oh, fuck, I fuck this up every week now. You got the Qs. We got the A's. Let's hear the question. I like this one this week.
This is a really good question from, I'm going to start deeming him the question master.
Yes.
Cynical Cypher, always holding it down for us. He asks, if you were able to create a film based around any superstar of your choosing, who would you choose, why, and what would the film specifically focus on?
See, now I thought about this for a while, and what I would like to see, honestly, would be like a biopic of Owen Hart.
Interesting.
I just feel this would have, it would have humor. You've always heard about so many great ribs that Owen had. You would have drama. You would have an amazing supporting cast through the Hart family and everything, and see kind of that whole Calgary life into
his life on the road with Mankind. Kinda.
Everything. And then, of course, you would have tragedy in it too, which, you would hate to just have this movie because of the tragedy, but I mean that's kind of like a roller coaster of emotions I would feel through a movie here. And I've even thought about like casting in that, because if you've seen recent pictures of Owen Hart's son, who's like a model or something,
I haven't.
He looks just like Owen Hart.
Weird.
So I would love to see if you could have him play his dad in this biopic, which would obviously be like incredibly hard, and I'm not expecting this to ever happen, but I just feel like that'd be a movie I'd be very excited for.
That would be a good movie. You kind of have the down point at SummerSlam when Steve Austin's neck gets broken, everything around that.
That issue too, yeah, that'd kind of be, for sure, like I think just so many different points through the movie that you could string together, and it'd be awesome. What about you?
Hear me out on this one, because it's going to sound weird.
Is the tinfoil hat going on for this one?
Maybe a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say Pat Patterson. As life as Vince McMahon's right-hand man. Like, not a biopic about Vince himself, but what's it like dealing with Vince McMahon on a daily basis? Like, take
Oh, I like that. It
eras.
reminds me of like The Lion King 1.5 or whatever, where you see it from Timon and Pumbaa's.
Exactly.
Like their point of view. That's a weird comparison, but I feel like that's kind of where you're going with this.
Yeah, you know what? In a weird way, exactly. Like, go through different time periods, like have it set like in the 80s when everything's booming, how great things are doing. They're building Hulkamania, everything's running wild, great. Fast forward in time, now we're at the steroid trial. Mm-hmm. Things are rough right now. All right, they get through it, now we're in the Attitude Era.
Now, how deep are you getting into this movie? Like, I'm wondering, I mean, we all know kind of like Pat's like secret life for a while and his like struggle with that, I guess, before he like came out as a gay man. Like, would that be a part of the movie too?
Maybe like a little bit of hint, but it's more focus on what's life like beside Vince McMahon. Kind of like a Vince McMahon story told through the life of Pat Patterson.
I like it. Aren't they not making a movie about Vince McMahon? Like,
allegedly. Like, apparently it's a thing. But
I keep hearing about it, and then it kind of fades off, and you don't hear much about it. Because I heard at one point, like, Liam Neeson was approached to play Vince McMahon through it.
Perfect.
I think that'd be fantastic, to be honest. But Yeah, I don't know where that's going to go because we kind of hear less and less and less about it. But
I feel like Vince would not greenlight that as long as he's still alive. Like,
Yeah.
it's not over the top enough, damn it.
my arms aren't big enough.
Yeah, in this script, it doesn't say genetic jackhammer.
There you go. Or grapefruits. Any of that, yeah. Also, a Chris Benoit movie I've been hearing about for a long time, and then that never really went anywhere either. Because I don't even know how to say that guy's name, but the dude that plays Ray Donovan, Lev Schreiber.
Not even going to take a guess.
You'd know him if you saw him
Yeah.
anyways. He was like apparently approached to play Chris Benoit at one point. So
That would be an interesting one in the way that what would the reception be of that? Like, I'm sure the movie itself would be great, but
well, see, I think as long as if it were made outside, like if it was a WWE produced movie, then obviously it's a problem. But I think if it's like has no affiliation with any wrestling company or wrestlers or anything, just like Hollywood making this movie. I mean, we've seen a lot of movies about like Jeffrey Dahmer and like horrible, horrible human beings that I don't think it's out of the question that they would make it.
But in that case, would they? Because in my opinion, Chris Benoit is a complicated one where you almost have to separate Chris Benoit the man from Chris Benoit the body of work. Do they romanticize that in that movie, the body of work, and then just you have the conclusion with the man?
I think they'd have to.
Or do they just kind of like almost shit on wrestling in general?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they'd have to tell that full story. I mean, it's no secret that he's known as one of the best, in-ring competitors. So I think they would have to show that. But yeah, I think they would also get into like the dark storylines of, like the concussion issues he had and things like that too. So
A montage of flying headbutts.
kind of like a Rocky type of, where Rocky's having issues backstage and he can't even, his hands are shaking and, Adrian's talking to him and you can't get back into the ring, Rocky, and all this. So I think you would have a little bit of that. All these are movies that aren't even happening. So now I'm excited for them and I don't even think they're happening. So, but good question there. So good
Indeed.
stuff.
Thank you so much.
All right, Bookerman Classic coming up next week. Anything else we got to get to here? I mean, you can follow us again through all our social media.
Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all Six Pack Cast.
Can I just bring this up? We are very close to actually having some fucking theme music.
So close.
Like, so close. Like, it's actually happening. Like,
I
I know we've been
heard-
teasing.
I clicked on some MP3s this week and went, that's pretty good.
Wait a minute, that could work. So I think, I don't want to, I'm not going to put a timeline on it, but soon you'll hear some tasty tunes coming through your ears.
So tasty.
To kick off the six-pack challenge. So, all right, again, Bookerman Classic next week. Do not miss that one. Follow us on social media, chat about it, and we want to hear all your reactions to the Bookerman Classic and who's going to win that coming up next week.
And as a last closing statement, may the best man win. Genetic jackhammer. Jackhammer.